CBS News Bay Area Afternoon Edition with Ann Mekovic.
Right now on the afternoon edition, it is a hot one around the Bay Area as our late summer heat spell continues today with some changes on the way. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday. The heat is here for another day and there could be a chance of thunderstorms. But let's start with that morning fog. We have a time lapse over our Mount Tam camera. Thick clouds cover the area early this morning with just the mountaintops peeking out. Now you can see the Golden Gate Bridge starting to sparkle in the sunshine. And the sun is shining around the bay. Taking a live look outside, showing clear skies in San Jose, Oakland, and San Francisco. First Alert meteorologist Jessica Birch has more on what we can expect for the rest of the afternoon. Jess.
All right. Well, the weather is the big story for us. I mean, this whole week it has been. We woke up this morning to a dense fog advisory along the coast. We're gearing up for daytime highs, 8 degrees above average in San Francisco this afternoon. 15 degrees above average all the way down into Redwood City and 9 degrees above average into the Santa Clara Valley. When we take a look at those daytime highs and what that does for us, I mean, we're talking about that heat risk map highlighting widespread throughout the East Bay down into the Santa Clara Valley with daytime highs in the 90s as we head into this afternoon. San Jose at 90 degrees. We're holding on tight to 70s today into San Francisco, 90s past the Golden Gate Bridge where you saw all that fog rolling its way in just along the Marin Headlands up into places like Novato, Petaluma, and Santa Rosa, all holding on tight to 90s today. Now, Anna also mentioned thunderstorms, but that's not until our forecast tomorrow. Today, the big story still has to do with heat and above average conditions as high pressure rules for one more day before we see quick changes into our forecast. Tomorrow, as a system from the south brings in stormy weather and cooler temperatures around the corner. For now, back to you.
Thanks, Jess. A local politician kicked out of office all over a neighborhood park. And now San Francisco's mayor is charged with picking a new supervisor for the Sunset District. Voters there have just ousted this man, Joel Engardio. He supported Proposition K, which passed last November, permanently closing a 2-mile stretch of the upper Great Highway to cars and creating a new park called Sunset Dunes. Well, opponents in his district launched a recall over his position, even though the rest of the city backed the measure. Here is a look at the current results so far. Almost 65% of voters support the recall, with more ballots still to be counted. More than 10,000 people voted yes. Supervisor Engardio conceded last night, saying he stands by his decision and would not change a thing.
Well, the coast belongs to everybody. And so it's very important that when something as precious as our coast, that everybody have a say in what to do with our coast. And so that was what we did. I supported democracy. I supported giving people a choice. And it's important that this coast belongs to everyone and everyone have a say in what to do with our coast. And now we have this amazing Sunset Dunes that is going to be here for the ages.
So here's what happens next. The Board of Supervisors still has to officially certify the recall results, and then 10 days after that, Mayor Lurie will appoint a replacement to serve until next summer when District 4 voters choose a new supervisor at the ballot box. An investigation into what caused a house fire in San Francisco. Firefighters say it has been a real challenge because of hoarding-like conditions inside. Video from Citizen App shows smoke coming from that building. This was on Union Street between Hyde and Larkin at around 8:40 this morning. And here's a look at the aftermath. Crews say that flames were coming from the 4th floor, but they were able to contain the fire to the 2 rooms where that fire started burning.
Since this was on the 4th floor, they cut holes to let that smoke go out so our firefighters on the hose lines can be aggressive and get to where that fire is. So that helps open up the building so they can squirt water and put that fire out.
SF Fire says PG&E crews have shut off the gas as fire crews continue to mop up there. Nobody was hurt. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump spending the day at Windsor Castle. It's an unprecedented second state visit to the UK, and it's been a mix of royal pageantry, diplomacy, and business deals. Here's Natalie Brand with the latest on a new tech partnership.
A royal charm offensive as President Trump and the First Lady arrived at Windsor Castle, joining King Charles and Queen Camilla for a carriage procession. The pomp and pageantry included 1,300 members of the British military, 120 horses, and royal bands. This trip is an unprecedented second state visit, but it's also about business. This week, the U.S. and U.K. announced a new technology partnership with joint efforts that focus on nuclear energy and artificial intelligence. U.S. tech giants, including Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Google, have pledged more than $40 billion in investments.
Tremendous opportunity in economic growth, in social services, advancing science, you name it. And that special U.S.-UK technology relationship is not something to be taken lightly.
But not everyone in the UK is embracing the relationship. Demonstrators gathered outside Windsor Castle ahead of the president's arrival.
Trump doesn't represent Britain, doesn't represent our values, and we don't agree with all the horror that he's caused to many lives.
Tuesday, 4 people were arrested after an old picture of Trump and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was projected on the royal residence.
We are learning more now about the mid-air incident during President Trump's flight to London. Yesterday, air traffic controllers repeatedly ordered Spirit Airlines pilots to change course after one of their planes was flying toward Air Force One. Despite the planes being just 8 miles apart, the FAA says there was no break in the required separation. The fired former head of the CDC warning lawmakers about a possible change to vaccine policy. Susan Menares was fired less than a month after her Senate confirmation. This morning on Capitol Hill, she testified that she was fired because of her refusal to allow Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s demands to pre-approve vaccine recommendations. Now she's raising a red flag over what could happen to America's kids if the CDC Vaccine Advisory Panel considers changes. Earlier this month, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy denied pressuring Menares to pre-approve vaccine recommendations, saying she was fired because she wasn't, quote, trustworthy. San Francisco's Chinese hospital celebrating receiving $1 million in state funding to support patients with cancer. Chinese hospital based in Chinatown got that funding to establish an oncology clinic and chemotherapy center. Senator Scott Wiener helped the hospital secure that funding and says it is needed to support care for the Chinese community.
And Chinese hospital now, it also plays an essential role in providing culturally competent care to people of the community, including people who may not speak English or English is not their first language, and making sure that people feel comfortable in a healthcare setting.
Chinese hospital has raised about $2.5 million toward the cancer center so far. Now to the Golden State Valkyries. It is win or go home for the WNBA team tonight. The Valkyries making their home debut playoff at the SAP Center in San Jose. They're going to be playing against the first seed Minnesota Lynx. They're playing in San Jose and not at Chase Center because that arena is already booked for the Laver Cup tennis tournament. A sellout crowd of 18,000 fans is expected at SAP Center tonight. Mayor Matt Mahan says San Jose is ready to cheer on the Valkyries.
We're just so excited to host at our Shark Tank. We will have Valhalla in the South Bay. Small businesses and neighbors are excited to host. We're ready to go. People are going to be showing their violet today. We're lighting up all of our city buildings.
And if you're planning on heading to the game and don't live in the South Bay, you can take Caltrain down to SAP Center. The San Jose Diridon station is down the street from the arena. And if you don't have a ticket, there's a watch party happening a few blocks away at San Pedro Square. Again, tonight's game is do or die for the Valkyries. They need to win or to force a Game 3 against Minnesota on Friday. Coach Natalie Nakase tells us everyone on the team knows what's at stake.
It's win or die time, obviously. We understand that. But we've been approaching it every game since the time we played LA Sparks. We've made it a thing. Hey, in order to make the playoffs, it's a must-win mentality. So this is kind of, like I said, this is rhythm of what we've already done before. But we don't think of it potentially being our last. We just think it's a must-win, and then we got to do our job. Minnesota did their job at home, and we got to take care of, doing our job here at home.
We have been your home for Valkyries coverage all season, and that continues in the playoffs. We're going to have pre- and post-game coverage of tonight's Game 2 against the Minnesota Lynx. All starts at 6:30 on Pix Plus 44 Cable 12. Still ahead here at noon and streaming on CBS News Bay Area. Interest rates are coming down and investors are reacting. We've got more on the move on Wall Street and what it means for your wallet. And we're going to take a look at Lowrider's journey from conflict to celebration, how the counterculture ride is fueling a big party this weekend. A check on Wall Street now, taking a live look at the big board. The Dow is up almost 200 points this afternoon. The jump likely in response to the Fed's decision to cut its benchmark lending rate by a quarter point, the first cut of President Trump's second term following great pressure from his administration. They were hoping to juice the nation's economy, but officials say they wanted to see Trump's policies play out first. A weakening job market ultimately forced the Fed's hands. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger breaks down how the cut might affect your wallet.
When you are a borrower, a quarter of a percentage point does not sound like a lot. Credit card rates, they're still over 21%. Auto loans are coming at 7.5%. Mortgage rates, even though the Fed does not control them, they have been drifting lower, though, in anticipation of all rates going down. So that's probably good news. So if you're a borrower, you get a little bit of help.
And more help might soon be on the way. The Fed calling for 2 interest rate cuts for the remainder of the year. All right, back to our real story today, the weather. We have all been battling the heat. Taking a live look outside in San Francisco, there is some fog there hanging around the Golden Gate Bridge. Let's check in with meteorologist Jessica Birch. Jess, does that mean that it's significantly cooler in the city?
I mean, you're taking a look at our coastal areas that have been dealing with dense fog advisories in the early morning hours. And yeah, when you take a look at the numbers, okay, 8 degrees above average in San Francisco compared to, 12 degrees above average over into Livermore or Concord for that matter. Yeah, we're seeing some influence when it comes to that marine layer, but ultimately, I mean, we're all sitting above average as we head into this afternoon. Regardless of that, we're seeing 90s off into our inland spots, 70s along the coast. So yes, it's not the worst beach day by any means. It's just going to be a foggy beach day with that warm weather sticking around too. So the big story for us, of course, has to do with this heat, at least today, because that's how we kicked off this week's forecast. With that heat risk map still highlighting most our inland areas in a moderate heat risk, this is something that we need to be very careful about as we head outside. Continue to hydrate today. Continue to check in on your loved ones. Make sure that you find that shady spot if you do work outside and wear plenty of sunscreen while you're doing so. As we turn the page into our Thursday forecast, notice how that heat risk map completely changes back down to low from that moderate category. What's happening? Well, we're starting to see this huge area of low pressure, this system pushing in from the south. You know what this actually is? It's the leftovers from a tropical storm that was swirling closer to places like Mexico just earlier this week and last week. Now that system's starting to break apart, and as it moves north, it does a lot of things for us here locally in all of our microclimates. It brings in rain, it brings in higher relative humidity, it's going to bring in cloudier skies and on and off thunderstorms too throughout the Bay Area Thursday heading into Friday, and then we're going to clear up a little bit more as we head into this weekend's forecast. So let's start off with our inland areas dealing with the extreme heat that we have today. Yeah, we're in the upper 90s today off into the East Bay. Tomorrow, low 80s, so almost a 20-degree jump just within a 24-hour period. And then we're holding on tight to those low 80s too as we head into our Friday forecast. So a night and day difference when it comes to our microclimates here in the Bay Area, gearing up for some stormy, cool weather right around the corner. We're also noticing that along the Bay too. About a 10-degree difference here now. Places like San Francisco and Oakland definitely dealing with cooler conditions tomorrow. You're talking a lot about those fogs, the fog just along the coast. Well, we're going to see cloudy skies widespread throughout the Bay Area tomorrow. So the fog isn't going to be that big of a story when it comes to the grand scheme of the big story for the next couple of days. Luckily, we start to warm up as we head into this weekend, back to sunny skies and 80s around the corner, but it'll be a lot more average heading into next week. Back to you.
The countdown is on for the Lowrider parade in San Francisco. We've been bringing you stories about lowrider culture leading up to the big event. Lowriding was illegal in California in the 80s, putting it at odds with police departments across the Bay Area. But as Kevin Coe shows us in Oakland, that clash took a new turn that sparked a cultural shift.
This car is designed with 10 switches. It do front and back, it do side to side, it do a pancake, it do a lot of stuff.
Jose Cheo Ortiz has been lowriding for decades, but there isn't another 1991 Ford Crown Victoria that means more to him and Oakland than this.
It was an officer that got killed in the line of duty.
In 1994, Oakland police officer Miguel Soto was shot and killed. In that same year, Ortiz renovated the fallen officer's patrol car at the request of OPD.
We was needed something to bridge the police and the community and the use of the community, and it was the perfect tool.
The OPD Lowrider is often at car shows, schools, and Bay Area events. It's a stark contrast from the 80s, when Oakland police often targeted lowriders.
So it's more easy now to deal with the OPD versus 31 years ago. 31 years ago, I don't know why I'm still alive, because, I was the most hated guy over here through the department.
For those of us growing up here in Oakland, East Oakland, we certainly know lowriders. And it's a positive for the police and the fire department.
Oakland City Council member Noel Gallo says the OPD lowrider sparked some initial controversy, but soon became something other departments wanted for themselves. In 1995, Ortiz renovated this 1986 Chevy Caprice Classic into the Oakland Fire Department's official lowrider. Since then, he's helped build more than 26 lowriders for police and fire departments nationwide.
31 years ago, the police officer of Oakland, they didn't like lowriders. They were hating into lowriders. And then they found themselves with one, their own one. OPD needs to be part of the community. And they proved themselves.
We are going to be broadcasting San Francisco's Lowrider Parade. You can catch it this Saturday, September 20th, beginning at 1 p.m. on Pix Plus and streaming on the free CBS News app. The Niners have started their season on the road. Still ahead on the afternoon edition, Vern Glenn is going to show us how the faithful has been able to show up for the team while waiting for the home game. The Niners have not played at home this season, but they've still seen plenty of the 49ers faithful on the road. Vern Glenn explains in our Red and Gold report.
This is the Audi Red and Gold report.
The 49ers play their home opener this Sunday against Arizona. But despite spending the first 2 weeks of the season on the road, the team has been able to enjoy some of the comforts of home. 49ers faithful traveled well in Seattle in week 1, and this past Sunday in New Orleans, they made the Superdome feel like Levi's Stadium. Kyle Shanahan could even tell Niner fans were taking over the Big Easy the day before the game.
Coming back from our walkthrough on the bus Saturday, just seeing a bunch of groups of Niner fans walking around. So I know our guys travel well, but it seems like we travel here better. The stadium almost seemed 50-50.
I love it. And everywhere we go and we see 49ers fans, and it just turns me up. Like, I can't wait, and it kills me if I can't play. And knowing like we got all these old faithful here, it's like, that's what it's about.
With the Red and Gold report, I'm Vern Glenn.
And we'll be right back. Oh, before we go, check this out. A mama bear and her cubs caught stealing a cooler right out of a truck. This is at a resort in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. The mama bear there just grabbing that cooler and running away. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you stay cool the rest of the day.